Hello. I'm going to talk about this. Oprah did not tell the truth. In other words, she lied. Okay. Uh, she had a picture on the front cover of People magazine. She said she takes GLP-1 to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. And then somewhere in the article, it said that she looked at Mike Tyson's his weigh in. He weighed in at 213 pounds. That's how much she weighed, 213 pounds. And Oprah and I are about the same height. So I know what 213 pounds look like. I can't even be 260 pounds. I can't even be that. I won't even live if I am 260 pounds. I won't even live. I won't live if I'm 250. I cannot live even at that weight. But Oprah said she was 213 pounds. I know what 213 looks like. Okay, so I doubt that was the truth. What I think the weight she was when she won that Emmy was somewhere between 260 and 280. In fact, I would say that Oprah was about 265. Now, maybe Oprah can carry that weight, but I cannot. I know how much weight I can carry. And I cannot carry 250 pounds and up. I know I can't. I can't even live being 250. But look, some people can. I mean, like the Siki used, she gorgeous enough for four people. She looks like she's 300. She's still living. But I'm saying I cannot live at 250. And I sure can't live at 300. But see, that was a lie that she told, and the white people don't do the research on what does 213 pounds look like. They don't do the research. So they take Oprah's word for it that, okay, she was 213 pounds when she won the Emmy, therefore she's big as Mike Tyson, she's huge. No, she was about 265. She was somewhere between 260 and 280 when she won that Emmy, because I know what weight looks like. Okay. Because I've been studying health and nutrition for over 30 years. I myself have been on the journey. I am still on the journey. I'm still taking stuff out of my food, out of my menu, and so on and so forth. Um, she's always either trying to, she exaggerates to make herself look good in front of white people, to make her look like she's this struggling black woman who made it good. Everybody in her family hated her. She was dirt poor, and look what happened to her. Look how she made it big. She's always exaggerating herself to make herself look good. I did read Kitty Kelly's autobiography. Now, Oprah said that, first of all, her grandmother would beat her until she saw blood. I cannot confirm that one way or the other. However, if you look at Oprah's first great picture, she had bangs in her hair. See, that's a grandmother who cares about the appearance of her daughter, to put bangs like that, because those were difficult. That's a woman who cares about her appearance. So I admit that women of her grandmother's generation didn't know how to be parents. All they knew was what the white folks taught them: beat, beat them, beat kids, beat adults, beat women and children, beat them and keep beating them. That's a possibility. But she said her grandmother would beat her until she saw blood. I don't know. I mean, that's a wicked grandmother. If she did do that, that's a very wicked grandmother. And Oprah was beaten. If that's true, although I can't picture her grandmother do that, but I don't know. Maybe it's true. I just don't know. Evidently, Oprah doesn't have very good memories of her grandmother. But look, Oprah said her roaches were her companion. I doubt that, because if her grandmother cleaned white folks' houses, her own house was spotless. The neighbors who knew her grandmother said her house was spotless. Oprah had her own room. She had dolls in her own room. The grandmother had lace tablecloths that, of course, the white folks gave her, and so on and so forth. So I doubt if Oprah was raised by roaches, that would mean she would be a blithering idiot. That cannot be true. They said that Oprah had a pet, some kind of pet lizard in her room, some kind of exotic animal in her room. So her grandmother was not a bad person to let her have an exotic pet in her room. It wasn't a kitten. It wasn't a dog. It was some kind of lizard or something in her room. So if we are to believe what Oprah says about her grandmother was two people. She beat Oprah until she saw blood, and then she let Oprah have a lizard in her room, and roaches for companions. I can't wrap my mind around grandmother was two people, either you, nay, or yay, either you this person or you that person. But I'll acknowledge black women of that generation really didn't know how to raise kids. And then the next generation of women who didn't know how to raise kids, you got another generation of black women who really don't know how to raise children. So then you got us in my generation, we do better. I did better. I tried to forget how I was raised, and I tried to raise mine totally different. So I try to do better in my generation, but some black women don't do better in their generation. They do the same thing their mother did, their grandmother did, which is abuse children and so on. So I cannot confirm that one way or the other that her grandmother beat her until she saw blood. I can't. And then you got the other grandmother who lets her have a pet lizard and who fixes her hair every morning and keeps a spotless house. So I can't. The two people, I can't put together the two people. She wants to give white people the impression that she's this suffering black woman who had an awful family and made it big. That's the impression she wants to give. Now, when she went to her mother's house, there may have been roaches because her mother lived in the ghetto. So that's a possibility. Her mother didn't know yay or nay. That's how she got molested so many times, because her mother didn't know yay or nay what was going on in her life. I guess her mother's house was, her mother's mind was in the clouds somewhere. So she didn't know what was going on with Oprah, one way or the other, okay? So, look, some women just don't know how to raise children. I go along with that. But I don't go along with all this narrative that Oprah has said, oh, everybody hated her in the family. Nobody did the right thing by her in the family. She made it big. She read a book and she made it big. I don't buy that narrative. Oprah's always trying to elevate herself and give white people the false narrative that all of her family were awful, very bad people. And look at her, she made it big. She's the most powerful woman in the world. I don't believe that narrative. But the only one who really knows the truth is Oprah. She ain't telling the truth right now. Bye.